You're watching ITV News Central. It's just coming up to 14 minutes past 6. Still to come, the weather forecast and holiday happiness for the children who've been having fun in Florida.
Families across the West Midlands are struggling to find hundreds of pounds to meet the most basic cost of their child's schooling. Research found more than half of the poorest families are having to borrow money to pay for the essential school items.
The report reveals that parents in the West Midlands are spending an average of £679 per child per year for things like school clothing, sports kit and summer activities. The work by the Children's Commission on Poverty found 74% of families are struggling to keep up with costs, which they say results in them missing out on key opportunities to make the most of their education, with 25% saying it resulted in them being bullied.
Well, earlier I spoke to Sam Royston from the Children's Society, and I began by asking for his reaction to the figures in this report.
This is a massive problem, with families across the West Midlands spending as much as £500 million a year on the costs of school. And we see at the Children's Society the impact that this has on families day in and day out. But what's really shocking about this report is it reveals the true impact that this really has on children's lives themselves. So affecting even the choices they make about what to wear, what they eat at school, even what courses they choose to study.
And how concerned are you that the children are actually being bullied because their parents can't afford to keep up?
It's really horrendous, the emotional impacts that we're seeing as a result of children not being able to afford the same things as their peers, facing in many cases embarrassment or even, as you say, bullying as a result. But we also see some real impacts on children's opportunities to make the most of their education. Many children told the Commission that they weren't able to keep up with the work that they had in class because they weren't able to afford the necessary books and materials. Many children even said that difficulties affording the necessary materials were affecting the decisions about which class to choose to take. It just seems obvious that the cost of school should never be a barrier to a child making a decision about what they want to study.
So it seems obviously the children are missing out. Parents are obviously embarrassed. They can't keep up with these costs. What do the government need to do in order to help them?
Well, at the Children's Society, we are so proud to be supporting the young commissioners because they've come up with 12 really tangible, practical recommendations. And those include that every child in poverty is entitled to receive a free school meal, that the government makes sure that every school has an affordable school uniform policy. And where the rules say that costs must be voluntary because they are a core part of the curriculum, schools really need to keep to this. No child should be excluded from any activity because of an inability to pay.
Sam Royston from the Children's Society, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, just to mention that later tonight on ITV, our programme On Assignment returns with the details of what's coming up. Here's Raggy Omar.
Join me this evening for On Assignment when Mark Austin returns to the Philippines just before the first anniversary of Typhoon Haiyan. He revisits Tacloban and finds the city with the gravest death toll still struggling. Julie Etchingham visits Berlin a quarter of a century on from the fall of the Berlin Wall to hear first-hand testimonies on life in the divided city. And Robert Moore's in Vermont looking at how the American mental health system is failing the vulnerable. That's On Assignment here on ITV at 10:40.
And still ahead on our programme, fun in Florida for a special group of holidaymakers.
First, we've got some sports news now on football. And Shrewsbury Town came so close to giving Chelsea a shock in the League Cup. Close wasn't close enough, though, losing 2-1 in the cruelest way with an own goal.
Our sports correspondent Steve Clamp was at Greenhouse Meadow and brings us the action from their incredible night.
A warm handshake between Jose Mourinho and his opposite number, Mickey Mellon, in front of a record crowd at Greenhouse Meadow, 10,000 there, as Shrewsbury Town prepared to take on Premier League leaders Chelsea. And the Shrews weren't just making up the numbers. Knight Percival, the first to test Chelsea keeper Peter Cech. With the game approaching half-time, the home side continued to keep one of the greatest teams in the world at bay, although great sides rarely offer shots like this.
Well, it's not getting any better, is it?
But the second half brought with it a more familiar Chelsea. Didier Drogba breaking the deadlock. 2 minutes later, Schürrle tried his luck from range. His luck was very nearly in. Shrewsbury, though, kept to their game plan, and it paid off. Andy Mangan had come on from the subs bench in the 75th. In the 77th, he made the difference. But it wouldn't be quite enough, as Jermaine Grandison did all he could to stop Drogba getting a tap in. He himself headed the ball into his own net. And as the full-time whistle blew, Chelsea were the victors, but Shrewsbury were applauded by both sets of fans. It all looked to be going wrong for Derby County when an awful back pass set Moussa Dembélé free to score his first goal for Fulham. Before half-time, he scored another from yet more defensive calamities. Derby looked like going out of the cup with a whimper, but a handball just before half-time saw County awarded a penalty and Chris Martin fired in for his 7th goal in 7 games. Hope restored. 2 minutes after the interval, it was Fulham's turn to make the defensive mistakes, while Johnny Russell made no mistake, 2-2. Now County were on a roll, and Simon Dawkins scored the goal of the game to make it 3-2 in the 54th minute. And having been 2 down, Jeff Hendrick pounced to put Derby 2 ahead. But they weren't finished there. Simon Dawkins scored his 2nd and Derby's 5th with a cheeky back heel. For Derby, a quarter-final beckons. West Bromwich Albion are out of the cup though. The Premier League side beaten by Championship team Bournemouth. A Tommy Elphick own goal levelled for the Baggies late on after they'd already gone behind. But just a minute later, Bournemouth made it 2-1 and won the game through Callum Wilson.
Port Vale have announced that their interim boss has now been made their permanent boss. Since Rob Page took the reins following Mickey Adams' departure, Vale have now lost just twice in 7 League One games, rising from 23rd to 16th in the table. Vale confirmed the news via their website, and the former Coventry and Wales defender will remain in charge until at least the end of the current season.
Some swimming, and Fran Halsall has been in record-breaking form at the World Cup in Tokyo. Halsall, who trains in Loughborough, won the 50-metre freestyle and backstroke gold yesterday and claimed 2 more medals today on day 2. Halsall made it a hat-trick of gold medals as she stormed to victory in the 100-metre freestyle before she took silver in the 50-metre butterfly with a new British record time of 25.29 seconds.
And with 9 months to go until the Ashes return to Birmingham, it's been revealed that the Test match could bring a £6 million boost to the city's economy. The figures were released by Marketing Birmingham and Edgbaston Stadium, who expect the series to be watched by 100,000 spectators.